Welcome, welcome. This is My Recovery, part of the Much Love family. My name is David, and I'm an addict. This episode is an important one for me because the wonderful man across from me is my sponsor. He's been a huge part of my recovery, and I love him for helping me navigate the world of being clean. I've asked him to share his story, his strength, his experience. So I'll turn it over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, David. Again, what a great opportunity to be a part of something that helps people. Again, my name is Ron. My clean date is November the 17th, 1995. It always amazes me when I say that, right? Because of how far life is, or how far experience has taken me. I'm grateful to be a part of this because the saying goes, we can only keep it unless we give it away. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this. There's so many facets, ways to give our experience strength and hope. I don't always necessarily agree with sharing our story because we all have a message. And that's what I want or would like this to be a message to anyone that's going through anything in life, because life is life. And we all go through things. I was having a conversation earlier about life in general and how different aspects of getting to a point of where we're happy and where we're comfortable with where we are. If it works for them, it could work for anyone. And so I'll start with that. When I look back, I think about my childhood. Like even to this day, I feel like I'm one of those that didn't really have a childhood. I think about the chores of like what modern day times are now. Is like if you just take out the trash, right? During the day when you get home from school, that's it. I grew up in a time of where planting vegetables and pulling weeds and working at corner stores when I was like 8, 9 years old. Dealing with adults and people with their own issues at 8 or 9 years old, and I felt like it was a responsibility of mine to maintain that in itself. But I'm grateful, right? Because in the experience that I've experienced in life in general now, and especially in recovery, how that's been such a motivator or an experience that pole vaults me forward on a daily basis, because I don't really like give up on anything. Sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it isn't. And just to qualify the experience in using drugs, I never, being a child or being at that age of a child that, I had dreams of being something in life. I never dreamed of being an addict. And that in itself took me to a place in life that I never thought I would be. Some of the things I experienced, I thought I would never experience. Some of the things I saw or did, I never thought would happen. But that's where addiction takes you, to the land of the unknown, and we have a saying that when I was getting high, that we lived in the land of the skinny, and how you would, or how I would probably be on an average of 150, 60 pounds or 70 pounds, and just from the lifestyle of being an addict, running for days on end without stopping, not sleeping, not eating. I don't know if you would say an average weight, but my weight was somewhere probably around 100, 110 pounds on any given run or episode of being out there. And just everything went along with using drugs, that lifestyle of like, you get me or I'll get you, right? Or, whatever opportunity that arose to make a few dollars or what we call a lick was always up for let's do it. And that in itself just takes you to a point of where anything goes, and that animalistic characteristics of life, where the strong ate the weak, and but when I look back at it, that in itself was not anything strong about taking advantage of people or just being in that position to eat someone alive, but that was, for me, that was part of addiction, and that's not where I am today. I think about just the experience in itself is like the jail time, the prison time, the rehabs, the institutions where they just put you and said, okay, if you make it, you make it. And if you don't, then everything will be refunded back to you, right? And at some point, right, and I thank God for that I realized that lifestyle I didn't want to live anymore. And not that I didn't want to live it anymore, because I thought that I would be using for the rest of my life, and I was okay with that. But it got to a point of where I just wasn't willing to suffer the consequences anymore. And that what amazes me, that we have that saying of sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, you do something different. And not really knowing that I was wanting to do something different, I just felt, I had a feeling that I was sick and tired of the consequences of what drug using was doing to me. And oh man, how grateful I am today that happened, right? And I continue to participate in my own life, not knowing that me participating in my own life would help people in their lives. I think about this opportunity just right here. Like, I woke up this morning not wanting to do this. And just the gratitude that I have and just showing up and doing this gives me an opportunity to be okay with me, and whatever I have to offer, I offer it freely without any conditions behind it. And I only got that through a program of recovery, and I continue to do that on a daily basis. I sit here and I don't even think about what I'm gonna say. I just allow it to flow as this higher power that I believe in allow it to be. And I'm grateful for that. Like, I have a life today, and I care about people. I care about what people think of me. Not in a sense of where it controls me or anything in life that controls me. Because I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling of being tied down to something that I'm only trying to appease other people. I'm And I don't mean that in a self-centered way. I mean that in a way of where how certain situations appears that it don't affect me in a way that it allows me to feel less about myself or not understand who I am or what direction I want to go in, because that's not living life. You know what I mean? It's almost as bad as being caught up in addiction, because the biggest part of my downfall was what went on between my 2 ears. Because I thought I had gotten to a point where I thought I wasn't deserving. I felt like society was against me. I felt like the world and just in general, the universe was against me. A little did I know I had all the power in itself just to say, I'm not going to allow that to happen. And that control lost its control. You know, I think about the things that I do on a daily basis and how when I get out of the way, things happen the way they're supposed to, good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I mean? I say, or we have that saying that bad thing happens to good people and good thing happens to bad people. That and I got all that through this way of life of allowing me to find me and to be me, whatever that may be. Right. And after coming up on 28 years of recovery, that I'm still teachable and I'm still willing to learn. I'm still willing to participate. There was times in my addiction I didn't want to participate in anything but finding and the means of getting just one more. Life changes. Lives have changed, and I have a new outlook on life, and I'm grateful to be that person that has a good life, that's still willing to be a servant to this way of life and whatever it entails, like helping people, being a part of something that means something, helping people from my own experience, not telling anyone what to really do, but if it's something that I've experienced it, I'm willing to share it with someone that's willing to listen and willing to try something different, because that's exactly what I had to do. I had to try something different. And I'm open to that today, to do something different. Even at times when I'm holding on what seems to be like dear life, because it's convenient for me, and how maybe I haven't suffered enough consequences, or again, that saying of not being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Because, you know what I mean, I can look in the mirror in any given day and think that I'm overweight, or that I just don't want to participate in the daily activities that I know I need to do every day, and not want to do those things. But the biggest part of it is that as long as I continue to show up and be a part of it, be that willing, or just be that participant that shows up, that things happens the way they supposed to. You know what I mean? I know that sounds really cliche-ish, or just like, well, it really is. It's you make it sound that it's easy. No, man, nothing in life is easy that's worth having. You know what I mean? And people that makes millions of dollars a day, or weeks, or years, and even for the person who makes the common minimum wages, know that it's hard to get up and do 80% of the same thing every day. But if I don't suit up and show up, I don't have life. I'm grateful again, right? I have a lot of gratitude for the opportunities that I get in life, and just the growth in seeing other people progress or succeed or be successful in their own daily activities or daily life experiences, and how they even share what they are going through, and how they get through it, and how they're willing to do this, or how life or death shows up and it affects us in ways that normally we would try to escape. But today I'm grateful that I get to feel the feelings. I'm grateful that that when things like that happen, that I'm willing to talk about them. I'm willing to take suggestions and not medicate or stay in this bubble that separates me from what reality is. I pause like that because of like, I got that moment of like, man, life is amazing. Life is amazing, and I giggle because of like just waking up this morning, like things that I don't want to do, and how I participate and show up, and it's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. That if I just stay out of the way, right? Man, I'm amazed at I see situations in life today, right, in a different sight, in a different light. This moves me forward. Because sometimes you could say things, right, and I don't mean to jump around, because I know I could say things and not participate in them. I said that earlier too, that we can say these amazing things about how life is and how wonderful life is, and we have that facade of what may not seem to be reality for someone who's in the grips or in the midst of things, or in the midst of things of where they are, right? And they can't see that light, or they can't see those opportunities, and how we have, how I feel like I have to participate in getting people to pole forward, and that another is an amazing thing to see people that coming to this program of recovery and see themselves at one point of their lives of totally dismay, and then see themselves at a point of where life is good to them, or they're able to deal with things that normally that we wasn't able to deal with, and how we share that experience, strength, and hope with other people. I don't want to get to a point of where I'm not willing to participate anymore, or I feel like I've arrived, or that I'm not, I'm beyond giving back or helping other people, and because I feel that way sometimes when I see older members, or even newer members that are not seasoned member, that 3-4 years, and it's like, okay, I got my stuff together now, and I can move on to something else, and really not participate in what this whole thing about is, like one addict helping another. We have that saying, one addict helping another without parallel. It's like we all reach back, or we all reach to the side, and we hold someone's hand, maybe not literally, but figuratively, that we do this together. And I'm going to continue to do this as long as I possibly can. As long as I have life and breath to live, this is what I want to do. This is what I feel like my life has become, right? To be that servant, not only for myself, for other people. And life experiences, I think that we all could probably write an encyclopedia and on what we've lived through, and how situations in our life has arose, and it, just like any book or whatever, there's some things that are not as interesting or compelling as other, but it again, it's just amazing what we can achieve and what we can experience without the use of any mind altering chemical that's so destructive that it takes control, that we are able to deal with today on a daily basis, and be a part of the solution instead of being a part of the problem. I'm grateful. Again, my name is Ron. I'm an addict, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Ron. I'm so appreciative for everything that you've done for me outside of this. You've walked me through the steps. You've got me on the path that has allowed me to get to where I'm at today. And I can't thank you enough. So this is going to be a new segment on the podcast where I've put together some questions from loved ones and family. I hope they're interesting, educational, and help provide some insight. So one of them is, it's surprisingly challenging what it's like to do everyday things clean. So examples of daily tasks that become more difficult in recovery, the emotional and mental toll of being clean on every day, certain coping strategies for dealing with the challenges of being clean. So it's really what it's like to do everyday things clean. What challenges do you face that you wouldn't have thought of when you were first starting? You come across where you're stressed out, and you would think that I could escape this. I could get high and get through this a certain way. So what other things that most people wouldn't think of that are challenging to do clean?
It's good that that question is asked in itself, because I know for a fact that that's just dealing with people on a daily basis, that what we deal with, right, or myself, is this 12-step program that allows me to deal with life on life terms, and this it can work for anyone, right? And it helped me to realize, it didn't make me do anything. It helped me to realize that daily activities, stress, the insecurities, the uncertainties of life, it's an everyday thing. Because there are days now that certain situations may appear in my life, and that I don't want to deal with. And it could be something as simple as not wanting to do anything curricular or outside my daily routine that could set me into a point of a whirlwind that I don't want to move, or I curl up into a ball, and we hear people say that and say, I couldn't get out of bed.
And
But
if I was high, I wouldn't have to get out of bed.
right, but if I was high, I would want to get out of bed. No,
Yeah.
because one is, one is too many. 1,000 never enough. But the point I'm trying to make is that I, if I use or continue to use, there's no opportunity for me. There's nothing that I could do, right? That again, that control that will allow me to do anything outside of anything but using. But this program helps me, and continue to help me, right? To say, okay, if I lay there for an hour past what I'm supposed to lay there, something in me propels me to a point of where I cannot stay like this because I don't like that feeling. Again, I talk about control. I do not like situations to control me to the point of where it's not conducive to my progress.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so. It kind of feeds into the next one, which is finding your higher power, the spiritual growth in recovery. So that what propels you forward. I know you're very spiritual and you've imparted that on me. And I came into the program not having that and not having, and to be honest, I still don't have the religious component, but I still do things in spite of that. So every morning, I don't know what I'm saying it to, but I still give gratitude. But for you, I know that you do have that higher power piece that's much stronger than mine, and I know it's developed in your recovery. So what steps did you take to find that higher power?
Well, necessarily just the key to acceptance, right? That there's something greater than me, right? I've always realized that, right? And the part that I think that me and you, as far as experience and finding, um, not necessarily the religious side of what higher power is for me, that I don't try to impose that on you,
No, no, no,
right?
not at
And
all,
and,
not
and,
at all.
and I think that what I believe is like, I had that blind faith that that next one was going to do what it was supposed to do. Like we all have that thing or something in us that says, okay, my way isn't working, so I'm going to believe that this is going to work, right?
Right.
That's blind faith.
Yep.
I've gone out there and tried to find real drugs, and they wasn't real, but that didn't stop me from trying it. So today I allow that, like, especially at those moments where you just asked me a few minutes ago, what compels me, or how do I do this on a daily basis when life continues to show up? Well, I still have that blind faith that I may pray about something and still have a little bit of doubt, but I have more faith or blind faith that if I continue to do what I'm supposed to do, the next step in itself is going to happen, right? And never have I experienced a situation that it was worse off than doing nothing, or worse off of doing what I thought I was supposed to do, right, and not getting results that I always wanted, right? But it was always better. It's always better to, for me to say, you know what, I'm gonna put this in the hands of something that I believe in, and whatever the outcome is, I'm gonna be okay. And I pray that it's better than I would hoped it to be. But I always realize that even when that doesn't happen when I want it to happen, that I have enough faith, I have enough belief that it's not always on my terms. I emphasize on that. I don't want to say I preach on that. I emphasize on that
Yep.
that it don't always happen in my time.
Yeah. I mean, so you kind of came into the program having some belief in a higher power.
Correct.
How did that develop while you were in recovery? What were there steps that you took to get to where you're at? Or no, it was just that blind faith that you were talking about, and that developed itself.
Well, exactly. You know what I mean? Again, you know what I mean? That blind faith led into seeing things that normally, like, if I was getting high, I wouldn't even experience, right? But it's been evident for me that things that I know that I had no power in changing. And I go back to just my profession of life, like the encyclopedia or encyclopedia. Oh, I can't even pronounce the word, but anyway, you know what I mean. The files and files of the charges that I was charged with, and to be in life in general in a position where I participate in a company that had no doings of my own. That most companies that are position that I have would not allow me to even gotten to the point of where I am today, and that comes from just having blind faith that anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
I know that in our discussions, at the beginning before and I'm not there yet, but I'm slowly turning the corner. But I remember you saying over and over again, "I believe for you," and
Right.
that was, not only does that show the love that we have for each other, but it also shows that faith that you have, the strength of it. Getting it to kind of the next part of what I call aha moments. What give me an example of something that happened where you said, all right, shit's got to change. I can't live this way. Give me an example of a bottom you hit, and this was it. This was one of the things where, you know what, and I've heard, I know your stories. I've heard a lot of them. I remember you telling a story about sleeping in a bush.
Right.
So I think things like that, are examples of aha moments where this was it for you. This is my bottom. Can you give me another one?
I can simplify it even better than that, right? Like, even with you, that aha moment of like seeing a person that's isolated, right, and not knowing, right? Because we don't know when the next person, or we don't know when a person gonna say or stay clean.
Mm-hmm.
So we just continue what our part is, right? I just, you know what I mean, that eventually things will change. And I just, again, you know what I mean, we've talked about this, just seeing you back there at the back of the meeting place on that concrete pad by yourself. And from the beginning, I had that aha moment of like, aha, there's one that I can help or participate in with, that things will change, right? And it just, you know what I mean, I think back just like 10 years ago, right? Like maybe 12 years ago, I went through this episode of gambling, right? And, you know what I mean, I filed bankruptcy, right? Clean.
Yeah,
right?
that's crazy.
Clean. I filed bankruptcy, and I had this, I had that, I had properties and cars, and how I lost all of that from my own doings, right? And then I had that aha moment of like, okay, I lost all aspect of like, I thought I was in control, right? Or that I was doing everything on my own. And that's where my faith or my belief in something greater than myself says to me, or And again, I'm not trying to be spiritual,
No, I mean that this is
no,
a
I'm not
spiritual
trying to
program.
be. I'm not trying to be religious, right? Where my belief is that, you know what, um, I gotta let go,
Mhm.
right? And I, automatically I have that moment of like, okay, I gotta experience the consequences of this, but I know, right? I believe. I don't know when, but I believe that if I just take one foot and put it in front of the other, it's gonna be okay. And again, and I emphasize on that, it wasn't on my time. It took me another 7 to 8 years, right, to go through experience or consequences that I did to myself within a year or two of all the work that I did prior to that to get to where I was in
Yep.
order to destroy it all over again.
Yeah, I didn't even think about, when you, the conventional way of thinking about it is you're in your addiction, you hit a bottom, and then you just keep moving forward. I didn't even think about, in recovery, you still hit bottoms. You
Oh,
still hit
exactly.
you still
Oh,
hit new
yes.
ones. We're still addicts.
Right.
So we still have
Right.
addict behaviors.
Right.
So I didn't even, when I was thinking aha moments, I'm thinking of that first one, that one where, like, for me, I my first step was, I I got caught, and the consequences of that, the pain, the suffering, that started my journey. It
Right.
didn't last because it was my first try.
Right.
And in our program, there are things that we get that signify our clean time. And the first one shows your surrender. And it's something that, it's called, in our program, it's called a key tag. So there are people that are one key tag wonders,
Mhm.
meaning they get it the first time. I myself was not. And I know that doesn't mean that my recovery is any less than anyone else's.
Exactly.
And for me, I had, a few aha moments. And the last one was, the pain was great enough that I knew I had to do something different.
Right.
And
Right.
I recognize now, after hearing that, hearing the second or third or fourth bottom that you've hit during your long amount of being clean, that, and the fact that you made it through, the
Mhm.
fact that you were able to get to the other side, as we say, that's inspirational.
Right.
That helps me. Um,
And you say all that, David, and with the aha moments, they're all around us, all the time, all the time. But I just got to be attentive, right?
mhm.
I just got to be attentive, again, like last night when I went to this gathering of people that were celebrating a couple of individuals, which I didn't want to participate in, right? And as I'm bowling, just again, this is a spiritual program, and this spiritual realm that allows us, if I just participate, just grabbing the bowling ball and bowling the ball and watching it go down the lane, and you all of a sudden, right? You said it yourself, that aha moment, like I'm having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And it just amazes. It's like, okay, I'm so glad that I participated within myself, let alone that I was celebrating with someone else on their celebration. They're all around us all the time. I just got to be attentive of it.
Yeah, you gotta be open to it.
Yep.
And so, I mean, here's a here's a great example. So I'm very standoffish. I'm very inside of myself. I'm
Mhm.
always in my own head, and I don't put myself out there, which we always talk about, and it's something that I struggle with. But as we're talking, there's another aha moment. I need to put myself out there more and participate more. I need to participate more in my recovery. So in my mind, if I was at that bowling, I would have just been inside myself and not experience the joy, the fun of being a part of. I'm and I know I need to work on that. And the only way to get there is to work on that. It can't just be in me saying things. You have to do an action.
David, life is challenging. You know what I mean? And again, you know what I mean? I'm very observative and I watch. There were people that were there that didn't bowl, but they were there. So their moment really may not have happened when mine did, right? But the thing of it is, right, it's not always on my terms or my time to maybe get that aha moment, right? But what we do here, what we do in this whole realm of this spirituality is that we keep continually putting ourselves in position for that aha moment, right? Or when maybe that bowling for that individual that I saw with their head down, maybe it wasn't their aha moment, but maybe when they got home, right? It may not have happened at the bowling alley like it did for me,
Right.
but maybe when they got home, they didn't experience that feeling of like, oh, I hate I went, or maybe now I'll use, or maybe I'll do something to hurt myself or hurt someone, right? Maybe it came then. But at first, I got to remember that I always continually put myself in position within this spiritual realm of what this whole thing revolves around, and just have that again, you know what I mean, that blind faith.
So when you've during your building of clean time, how have you rebuilt trust? The challenges you faced rebuilding trust with loved ones. For me, I know that action is, much more powerful than just saying I'm sorry. And I know actually, taking a step back, part of the 12 steps are making amends and trying to reset those relationships. What ways and challenges did you see rebuilding trust with family, friends, other loved ones? What were some of the ones? Maybe just give a few examples of things where trust was damaged or completely severed, and what steps you took to make it right and to change and to rebuild that trust.
You know, I mean, those kind of questions what really lights my spirit, right? Because when you say the 8 and 9 step, like where we like an 8, where we just make a list of people or situations in life and put a name to them that we would just think about making amends to, and then 9 and just actually taking the step to do it, right? But then you got 6 and 7 before that, right? Well, I look at my part in it, my character defects, my assets, right? And how all that just comes together. First, I look at me, right? It's about me not wanting to hurt myself anymore. First and foremost. Before I even consider thinking about what I did to you, because the biggest thing, right, that we always emphasize on is what I did to me. Once I realized the things that I was doing to me that I would never let anyone do, right, then I take this process of like saying, if I don't do it to me, I sure don't want to do it to you, right? So that process in itself, in realizing that, how do I allow myself to be trustworthy, right? I trust me, right? I trust me. We all gonna get burnt, right? For instance, just last week, this person asked me to help them financially, right? I took a chance. I took a chance, right? We're not saying take a chance and it's going to damage you or it's going to damage the relationship that you have with an individual because that's ludicrous, right? It's just like you setting yourself up to fail.
Right.
Hey, I set myself up to say, or not to even say, to realize that I in order to be trustworthy, right, I had to put trust in something or some other people, right, that allowed them to say, you know what, even if I'm not able to take care of that commitment that I just signed or participated in, that I did it, right? Or I allow a situation, right? I allow a situation to build that trust, right? I trust you, right? That you're going to do the next right thing, if you do it or not, right? And then again, those are the things that we go back to in the first step, that we don't control people, places, or things. We don't have that control. I don't want that control, right? So I don't even want to think going in that how can I make you, or how can I get you to, because I'm putting expectations on it then, right? How do I make you understand that I'm doing the right thing, or that you really need to trust me? You can't trust anybody better than me now because I'm clean, right? We let it happen. You know what I mean? Again, it's based around this spiritual program, right? Like, and that's how some people get it twisted. I think sometimes that it's religious how we say, because it's how we emphasize on that, right? And that I get it out of my hands, right? And allow the rest to happen the way it's supposed to, you know.
When it came to family, I know that trust was severed during addiction.
Yeah.
And how did you make amends to, let's say, your parents?
Well, I was one that allowed the opportunity to present itself. When I was doing the 8th and 9th step for the first time, right? For the first time, and I was one of those that was so enthusiastic about getting to the next level, right? That I could see things happening, right, in itself of not of my own doing. And I thought about that, and I've shared this before. My first and foremost was my mother, right, was gaining her trust back, right? And I don't think ever, right, after making the amends as far as like, Mom, I really am apologetic, right? And the things that happen or what I did in life, right? It was out of my control. It was not me. And then my mother, being the religious person and spiritual person that she is, right? Her first thought is that, yeah, the devil made you do it. But again, right? I've shared this before, that it was about 10 years clean before my mother really realized that there was a difference in me. As far as acknowledging it, right? Not that she didn't see a difference in me for 10 years, but for the first time she acknowledged that, right? I felt the trust that was gained back, right? And
it was just time.
It was just time, right? And time is things I must earn, right? And we don't, sometimes we come in here, and we think that, okay, I deserve that you trust me or that they trust me, right? And it's not about that, right? Because I am the one that's working a program. My mother wasn't or my dad or my sisters and brothers or my friends wasn't the one that was working the program, right? So again, that's one of those situations where it's not on my time or my terms. I just have to believe that that trust or whatever will rekindle itself, right? But I got to do the right thing, right? That's how we build that, right? And not put any conditions on it, right? Because there's some things that even today that I may wake up and remember with individuals today, right? That I don't agree with, right? And I may say, well, you know what? I can't believe in this person, or I don't trust this person, right? And it always comes back to me. It always comes back to me. It's like, who am I? You know, who am I not to be able to trust you, or who am I not to be able to give you a chance? Because again, right, like we don't know when that opportunity of rebuilding or rekindling of their own spirit that they do the right thing.
Do you know much about Naranon and the programs like For Families? Have you seen those help in building trust? Have you seen that happen?
Well, it's the knowledge of anything, right? Knowledge is one thing, but understanding is amazing. If people don't participate in that, what I mean, say a parent, right, that has a son or a daughter that's going through addiction, right? That because we say today, right, that I was in a relationship with someone that was in recovery and all of a sudden they relapse, right? There's a difference, and there isn't a difference. There is a difference, and that really isn't a difference, because the knowledge, right, of saying, okay, I could go over here to help myself, right? You know what I mean? To get the experience of just knowing that, okay, there's another way. I just have to do my part and let the results be the results, But I can allow myself to get to a point of like, say vindictive things or do vindictive things to people that because they don't do what we want them to do. But the knowledge of knowing there's another way, right, and understanding that I don't control the situation, absolutely. I mean, I encourage anyone that don't have the experience to get the knowledge and the understanding.
So we've talked about, and you've shared the phrase, we can only keep what we have by giving it away. So the importance, the significance of giving back to the community, the recovery community. So you did it, by sponsorship. You do it by sharing. You do it by reaching out to people that you're not necessarily, taking the full responsibility of taking them under your wing, but you still share your insight, your strength, your story. Are there other things that you've done for the community?
Well, there's always things that we can do for the community, right? Like I'm not that person I used to be. You know me. Oh, and again, I go back to the 6th and 7th step of the character defect. The things that we do as a human being, and our defects is only as old as the last time we used it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I cursed them out last night, right, and said that was the old me, right, and I ain't did it in a long time. Well, you just did it last night,
Mm-hmm.
Ron. We just have to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? I don't know. It gets to a point. It gets to a point of where certain things just don't feel good anymore, right? And so, in order for me to like not try to powder it up or make it any better, I have to align myself and put myself in position, right? To because this is what I want to do. I want to help people. I want people to be able to help me. So I continue to do that if I'm not even going to be their sponsor, if I'm not going to even be their associate, you know what I mean, or just a passerby, right? Like, just imagine if we all had that kindling spirit of like, I don't know you, but I'm not gonna hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, man, I can't thank you enough for being here today
thank you, David.
and sharing what you have. I truly mean this. I love you, man.
I love you, brother.
And to those listening, much love, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.